Okay, welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
How was the drive in today?
Not bad for me. It's never bad for me.
I know.
I drive at 5 a.m.
I know. So, yeah, it's right before all that congestion and stuff, right?
You got stuck today.
I got stuck.
We're recording a little earlier than usual.
Right, which is fine, but it's, that drive in, it's right in the middle of, when everybody's coming in.
You live on the wrong side of town.
I know. Well...
All of us,
really?
All of us on the East Valley side don't have as much traffic as you do.
Listen, I refer to it as East LA. That is how far out I am in the West Valley, but I like it out there. So I'm just as far out west as you are out east.
That's true.
So I don't think we'll ever get together for a party.
Probably not. Work is where we hang out.
It's going to be like 150 miles between us. So, hey, listen, I'm an empty nester, as we know. Kids are out. Couldn't be more proud. The one's in sales and the other one joined the military.
It's amazing.
So really cool. So
awesome.
I didn't really have to mess with, the education, all the forms, going to the bank. But that's something you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh, boy.
We've already started saving a little bit for college because we know that's an expense that is just getting more and more expensive, right?
Yeah, and our producer, Colin, he's putting his kid, I guess, through the first semester right now at Arizona State University. So
just those checks.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's really expensive. So you got to start early. And do you have a 529 plan? What they call the 529?
Yeah, we have one for each of our kids. So my son was born in Rhode Island, and so we have his 529 through that state where he was born because they have a cool little program where the state kicks in an extra $100 to jumpstart the savings a little bit.
Oh, wow.
And then my daughter has one through Arizona.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So are you going to be prepared?
Well, I mean, right now I think we could pay for a couple books.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. But so 5-year-old, so you've got 13 more years to kind of stock away.
Hopefully that compounding interest really takes off.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank
you. Yeah, it's really tough.
I'm going to keep my day job and maybe some side gigs.
It's really tough on moms and dads out there. Hey, listen, for more information, we're going to break this down with 529 plans and the FAFSA. That's called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, commonly known as FAFSA, which is kind of a weird acronym. But
yeah, well, and it's really important to talk about right now because normally the FAFSA is normally out by October 1st, and people are filling it out and, not having to deal with it through the holiday season. But this year, it's kind of been delayed for a couple of months because they are overhauling it and completely changing it. The Department of Education says they're going to make it a lot easier and user-friendly to use, kind of streamlining everything.
Yeah.
And so we are expecting it to be available by December 31st, which is why we wanted to have this conversation right now, because this is going to be top of mind for so many families.
Yeah, so for more information on that, we're going to talk to Arizona State Treasurer Kimberly Yee. She joins us on the On Your Side podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us, Kimberly.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for talking about this very important topic.
Hey, do you have kids?
I do. In fact, I have young kids. We started our family a little later. And so my children are in elementary school. So I love hearing that you all are talking about this important idea of starting early to save for their higher education opportunities. And so we did start that. In fact, I was one of those moms that when we started getting gifts when they were born, in Asian American cultures, they actually have a big party when they're born, and the gifts that are given are oftentimes cash. And so I had all of this cash given as baby gifts, and I immediately went to open up an account for them to put in a college savings account. And I went so early into this that they turned me away and said, "You are so early that your children don't even have a social security number card yet. Can you wait until they get that in the mail and then come back and fill out the rest of your forms?"
Hey, that's a great problem to have.
I love that.
It is. I'm one of those early planners when it comes to finances and savings. And so I would love to share more about all of the things that we're doing here at the Arizona Treasury. As state treasurer, this was a top priority for me to bring families, more aware of what they can do early on to start saving, not only for their individual family needs, especially now with inflation and so many other things, but as we get into having children, we want to put as much money aside as we can, or as we can afford. so that we can start saving. And that compound interest you just talked about, perfect idea of really putting money aside. It grows over time with interest, and the money is set and ready to go once they're out of high school.
I know the FAFSA is through the Department of Education. It's not your department, but it is something that you are super aware of because of your relationship with the 529 plans and making sure people are aware of those plans and managing their money. Just talk through why it's so important to get a FAFSA filled out.
Yes. Well, the FAFSA is a free application for students to fill out as they are looking for opportunities to save for college and university experiences. And that could mean a loan, it could mean a scholarship, it could be a grant. And there are so many different opportunities. And as you mentioned earlier, normally the time to apply would be in October. But they've really revamped this application process in a good way because they're streamlining it so that there are fewer questions for students to have to respond to make it easier to apply. But also, they can get a fresh start once this comes out, and it is expected to be December 31st of this year. The faster they get that application in, the more opportunities they will be able to get for these types of financial aid. One of the things that they had mentioned is you're 3 times more likely to get these types of student loans, grants, and scholarships if you apply within the first 3 months of it opening up.
Wow. Yeah. So you don't want to be late. I mean, you want to be the early bird. I wonder if and Susan, you may know this, if people are trying to get on now to because it was October. I guess it probably had some kind of notice on there saying it's too early and this is being overhauled and come back in December.
Yeah, on the Department of Education website, it kind of spells that out. But it says there are some things you can kind of do to prepare right now. Make sure you have that login information set. Make sure you have your financials, kind of ready to go in that list that you've compiled. Who needs to contribute the information to the FAFSA? It's not just the student; it's the parents in a lot of cases, or a spouse if the student is married, or maybe a step parent. There's a lot of people who might have to contribute just personal information.
Yeah, right. So let's talk a little bit about 529 plans.
Yeah, let's save.
Yes.
It's all about saving, man. I love to save. I love money. Who doesn't love money, right? So, Kimberly, this is kind of in your wheelhouse, or it is in your wheelhouse.
It is your wheelhouse.
I mean, you're doling out the money. So, tell us about the 529 plans. If people are not familiar with those plans, just start with the basics. How does it work, and why is it good?
Well, just a little history about the Arizona 529 Education Savings Plan. It used to be called the College Savings Plan for about 25 years. And it used to be housed over in the Post-Secondary Education Commission office, which absolutely nobody has ever heard of, right? And so when I became state treasurer in 2019, I started going to these national conferences for state treasurers. And I realized that all of these pull-out panels in these conferences were about 529s, but I couldn't attend any of them because I didn't run the 529 plan in Arizona as the state treasurer. So immediately upon, coming back to the state, I shared with the legislature and the governor at the time, I would like to move that AZ 529 plan to the Office of the State Treasury. I would be able to expand the awareness of it across the state since I'm a statewide elected official. And so we immediately moved that over to my office in October of 2020. It's been around for just, these 3 years. And in that short period of time, we have increased new accounts by 33,600 plus new accounts. And that's huge. That means over 1,000 new accounts a month. We have translated our documents to Spanish and Navajo so that we can expand the reach, especially to diverse communities in Arizona. And we really wanted to share that it's not just about college. You can save for workforce development, apprenticeship programs, vocational school. All of these savings can be put for all types of higher education. So we actually changed the name in Arizona from college savings to education savings. And we have seen great growth, especially to those families who have never even thought about going to college before.
I think that is a great idea because you really leave a lot of people out when you just have a, quote, college savings plan. College is out of reach for so many people, and they want to go to trade school, and they can use what is contributed to the 529 if they don't want to go to college. If they want to go to welding school or whatever, they can apply that then. I think that's a great idea. Do you see a lot of people doing that?
We do. In fact, that has been really our marketing effort, is to really expand this so that people are aware that this can be for even yourself. A lot of people post-COVID decided, that occupation I've had for all of these years is not something I want to do anymore. And they're re-careering, which means they're going back to school and getting a new type of education so that they can retrain and regroup. And so they're actually becoming their own 529 beneficiary and receiving that tax deduction for themselves. And so we are actually seeing not only growth with the type of funds that these are used for, whether it is a traditional university education, but it's also, especially in Arizona, with all of our growth and economic development, we need those who are in the trades. And so we are able to advance that person's education by giving them that extra trade school and having the money set aside and ready. And so what's so exciting about this is that we have really expanded the marketing so that we not only help those young families that are starting out and, they're thinking, okay, my child was just born, just like how I did. This could actually be, someone who is a grandmother, a grandfather, who wants to leave, funds aside for their grandchild. They too can get a tax deduction. An aunt or an uncle can put money aside for their niece or nephew and get the same tax deduction. Just to talk a little bit about what those funds are, every year you can file up to $2,000 for every person that is on a 529 plan that you are contributing to. If you're a married couple filing jointly, that's $4,000 for every beneficiary, and there's no cutoff. So you can have multiple kids in one family and you're getting that $2,000 per beneficiary. So we're really growing in so many ways because of these great tax offerings that contribute with the 529.
Yeah, walk me through that a little bit more. What are the? How does the actual tax benefit work? Is that something that, are there tax benefits with federal taxes also, or is it just state? How does that work?
It's a tax deduction from the state of Arizona. So if you're opening it up here, a 529 in Arizona, and you live here in Arizona, you can file for that state tax deduction in Arizona. However, a lot of our AZ 529 accounts are opened from residents outside of the state, believe it or not, because of our marketing. It's been amazing to see that we have multiple accounts opened from outside of Arizona. Those individuals can still file their tax deductions, but in their individual state. So you mentioned you were in Rhode Island, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
And so you can actually get your 529 is set and ready there. It can stay there, but you can file your tax deduction for your child who is in the Rhode Island 529 here in Arizona with a $2,000 tax deduction for you. And then if you're married, you're joint.
I'm going to be a little selfish right now and ask a very personal question. Is there any benefit to me rolling over my child's Rhode Island 529 into an Arizona 529, or it doesn't matter that much?
Your tax deduction is going to be the same regardless. So as long as they're in a 529 plan, your tax deduction in Arizona will be the very same. The only difference there is for you personally as an investor, because every state's plan is a little different in how their investment vendors work. So we work with Fidelity and Goldman Sachs, and they have opportunities for their investment portfolios differently than, say, Vanguard or others that might be in a different state. So every state has a little different plan, and they have different portfolio options. So it kind of, it's personalized to you as the family. And so you can decide, hey, you know what, I might be getting better gains in a portfolio that is managed by a Fidelity or a Goldman Sachs plan in Arizona than whatever is being used in Rhode Island. But I would like to put a plug in. Arizona's plan, since it's been under my watch here at the Arizona Treasurer's Office, has increased its performance overall nationally. So we were just rated higher in terms of overall national 529 plan. So we went from a bronze to a silver. And so we've done a lot of work. They call our people pillar the highest rating. So we were able to really showcase what we can do here in Arizona to reach the numbers of families that we have. I mean, consider how short we've had this plan, just 3 years since COVID. And we've advanced over 33,000 new families on a 529 plan.
I think there are a lot of families who maybe have never invested before, and it sounds a little intimidating, and they go, oh gosh, I don't know how to open an investment account, or it sounds like I have to have a giant chunk of change ready to go for that initial investment. What do people need to know about actually getting started if they're feeling like, I don't know if I'm financially
Ready.
stable enough for this, or if I have enough cash to throw at this account?
I love that, because that's really what we've been trying to break down in terms of barriers on this. And that's why we've seen such growth. So one of the things that I share is you can have $15 a month and put that $15 aside and grow that over time. That's all you need to be able to start a plan. And maybe one month you're not going to be able to put money in. That's okay. You can do this over time as you can afford it. But starting that is the biggest obstacle, right? Because it's so scary and intimidating as a topic that people don't even open it. But once you open it, you are now starting to compound that interest over time with the money that you put in. And as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't just have to be your money. It could be other people contributing to your child's 529 account. And over time, it actually will grow. It can be a portfolio type of investment opportunity that is comfortable with you. We have kind of the ones that are for our newer investors, and it's very conservative in how it performs. And then sometimes you can have a little more aggressive one if you're a little more familiar with it and you're more comfortable. And so we have options like that. If you visit az529.gov, you can see that there's sort of a Q&A section for those who are interested to learn more about it. And we also have individuals from those corporations like Fidelity and Goldman Sachs who can walk through what it means to open it up and how much that you can put in every month based on your finances. And one of the things that we really love to share is that this is the perfect time. It's December. The holidays are coming up. And what a perfect gift of education to give to someone you love, right? I mean, this could be a family friend. Have them open up, see if they have a 529 account. If they do, put the money into their 529 savings that already exists. But if they don't, talk about it. And so one of the things that I like to share is really giving the gift of a 529 education savings plan right now during the holidays. And it can be in a fun form, whether you talk about what your child wants to do when they grow up and take them maybe to a museum, take them to a place, let's say they want to be a veterinarian, go to a zoo, talk about those fun ideas of giving them the idea of their future. And then it starts the conversation about what it will take to get there and the money that it will take to save to get that higher education opportunity so that they can be ready for their dream job.
How do you actually give money to somebody else's account? Like, if I would love it if my parents or in-laws would contribute to my kids' 529, what's the actual practical application of them doing that? Do they have to write me a check, or do they just go directly to the 529? How does that actually work?
There is actually an application that is used online that you can share. So when you have your account, it actually has an identifying number that is your child's number, and you can give that link. And they literally can put their credit card number in, however they would like to contribute. So it goes directly into their 529 automatically. And then they usually can get a reminder after that year passes to see if they want to renew the same amount from the previous year. And so we can provide, all of those links to those families if they write to the AZ529 website, because we have an info line there. So they're welcome to ask those questions. And it's very easy to share that information in an email to your loved ones and friends.
Hey, I want to circle back on something that we talked about earlier, and that is, it's called the Arizona 529 plan, but somebody can live in Wyoming or Arkansas and really like the Arizona 529 plan, and they could use it then, right? I mean, you don't have to live here, right? That's true.
That's right. In fact, I have been most surprised as the new administrator of the 529 plan here in Arizona with the growth of the number of non-residents opening up AZ 529 plans. I mean, it's wild that they are choosing Arizona over their own state. I love it. I was actually in that place when I was having my babies, and I was in the state legislature at the time, and I, was looking at the opportunities, because you can put your money aside for, a bank account that has savings for college, but you can also put a 529 that gives you the tax deductions. Well, when I was talking through the idea of a 529, I was actually told by financial advisors out there that Arizona's 529 plan at that time was not the most ideal plan. And here I am in Arizona, born and raised, and I'm thinking, why is AZ 529's plan not the most ideal plan throughout the states? Well, again, this was before we took it over, and there were some deficiencies there. So we have upgraded those types of things that were not ideal at that time. Again, this has been around for 25 years. And now we have regrouped and revamped how an investor, a family, can be in Arizona or in any other state in the country and love the investment opportunities that our Fidelity and Goldman Sachs plans provide. And again, flexibility is key because not everybody's going to invest in the same way or want to invest in the same way. So I wanted to have options so that those types of opportunities for a family can be flexible, from your early sort of your new investor who wants to be really conservative to the one who is a little bit more sophisticated, who wants to get into a little more options. So we have seen, I would say it's a little less than 50%, but it's roughly, it's a significant amount of non-residents who opened 529 accounts since I have taken this over.
And is there a maximum? I think you said it earlier. There's an annual contribution kind of like ceiling on that? How much can you contribute?
You can contribute whatever you would like, but you get a deduction from the state of Arizona of up to $2,000.
Okay, so you can contribute whatever you want, up to $5,000, but you're only getting a $2,000 tax break.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So, and so we have families, who can contribute a little bit, but again, this compounds over time. So even if you have a little bit this year, but you can do a little bit more next year, all of that adds up together. So by the time your child is 18 years old, they are ready to go with interest earned over their 529 savings account. And the best part about this is that this has really grown over time. And just recently, the federal government passed a legislation that allows for a family to use any leftover 529 plan funds to be rolled over to their Roth IRA retirement. And this is going to start in January of 2024. You have had to have been in a 529 plan for at least 15 years. But whatever they don't use for whatever reason in higher education, they can roll over to a Roth IRA.
You stole that next idea right out of my mouth, because that is something that I think a lot of people had been concerned with. What if my kid doesn't want to pursue higher education, or what if something happens and higher education is no longer an option? I don't want to be hit with a giant tax penalty just because I decided to invest in maybe something that wasn't quite the perfect match or didn't turn out to be the perfect match. So I think that flexibility moving forward was such an important thing to happen to encourage more people to at least consider it as a savings option.
Yeah. All this talk about 529, I'm very excited about this. I want to contribute to your kids' 529.
Yeah! I'll send you the link.
Hey, audio engineer Todd, give me a thumbs up. You want to give something to Susan's kids?
I'm going to send everybody the link.
He has a sideways thumb. It's not going up, it's not going down. Well, it's a great conversation. I know we covered a lot of ground. And we really appreciate you being on the On Your Side podcast, Kimberly. If people want to know more about either you, or they want to know more about 529 plans here in Arizona, and again, you don't have to live in Arizona because people listen to us from around the world, all over the world. So where can they go?
They can go to az529.gov to learn more about the 529 plans in Arizona, but to learn more about the Arizona Treasury and all we do to invest money that goes back to the taxpayers and to education K through 12, you can visit aztreasury.gov, and that's the Arizona Treasury's website. Again, I'm Kimberly. It's my pleasure to serve as the State Treasurer of Arizona, but my favorite part is being able to make more money for Arizona taxpayers. And this opportunity to save is just perfect for families just like yours. Well,
it sounds like you really did a heck of a job revamping the 529 plan. So a lot of people out there I know will appreciate that. Thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. And we look forward to having you on again sometime, okay?
Thanks so much.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.